What's up? It's dark. We're barking. It's actually nighttime. So, we're actually, we're here with you live on a Monday night for the first time in a little while. If you didn't get the last show, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Jay Bruce. And the month of January has already flown by. Dry January is over.
I'm not. I think I don't even. This is the dastardly month or the bastards month, if you want to go for the 2 weeks or something. Whatever we're in now, not the gentleman's month. I think you're. Yeah. You made it 8 days. So,
no, I wasn't even thinking about it the other night. We had some friends come over that we haven't seen in forever. Seems like, and one of my buddies, he brought over this extremely nice, extremely expensive bottle of rum and dark rum. And he was like, man, you got to try some of this on the rocks. It's unbelievable. And he was not lying.
What was it?
I can't remember that was
Was it Bumbu?
No, it had like it had like a something day something, you know. It kind of honestly it reminded me a little bit of a tequila name.
Have you had the Bumbu?
Never had it. No,
it's really good, really vanilla-y.
Yeah,
I dig it.
This wasn't sweet at all. It had a little bit of spice to it, and it was more like a very mild bourbon.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really good though. It didn't have a lot of vanilla notes in it, but yeah. So I just wasn't even thinking about it, and I was like, oh wow, I forgot we were doing Dry January. Honestly, those things have never really spoken real big to me because I don't know. It's my, sometimes I'll go like 2 or 3 months without drinking. And then, then I'll pick it back up and I may drink every day during the summer, it seems like. So,
yeah, I haven't had a lot of 2 to 3 months off in a long time. So I'm kind of doing it. Honestly, I'm just doing it as a challenge, man. See, just to push myself, try to do something interesting, something that I've never really tried. I've always kind of shit on Dry January. I'm like, come on, right? Who knows? But being sick, it kind of got me started off doing it, and I just kind of let it roll. It's been interesting so far, man. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm bored. I'm really, really bored. I'm saving a lot of money though. I know that.
You ain't much fun since I quit drinking.
No kidding. I'm saving a lot of money, and I've been sleeping real well. That's been one of the big things. That's been a huge change actually. I find I'm sleeping through the night. I'm sleeping consistently. I'm waking up pretty rested in the morning. So
good for you, man.
I mean, I told you it's probably, this is no shit. It's probably the longest that I have been without it since I started drinking when I was like 18. So it's who knows? We'll see. Maybe we've turned over a new J. Cruz, a new sober J. Cruz.
Yeah, maybe we can get you into some uppers now.
Yeah, right.
All right, so the national championship game is going on right now. We're watching it. I believe Washington is trailing 17-3.
I'm actually not watching it. I don't have cable.
Oh, okay.
I don't have any way to watch it.
You think you're better than me?
I can't find what I've been doing all year. Is I've been going to the YouTube and searching the lives, and typically there's one of those streams out there, but I haven't been able to find one today. So I'm going through all these back channel websites. I'm sure I'm giving my computer no telling what kind of virus by going to some of these shady ass websites, but to me, it's not a super compelling game. I mean, I get it's the final college football game of the year. I understand that, but I don't know, man. It doesn't do a lot for me, this one. Michigan's got the villain angle, and then Washington. I'm a little perturbed with Washington too, because they're part of the whole demise of the Pac-12. So I don't know, man. I don't have a lot for any of these teams. I mean, I do like Michael Penix, and I like Kalen DeBoer a lot, but otherwise, it just doesn't hold a lot of intrigue for me.
Well, we got some news today for Georgia, some big news, and there's a lot to unpack here, man. So Georgia lands Jayden Maiava, okay, and that's how you pronounce his name. It's not Maivia. I'm sorry, I wish it was. Jay Bruce and I both wish it was.
Me too.
His name's Jayden Maiava, and listen, I've spent the day kind of going back and looking and checking and seeing what this kid looked like at UNLV last year, and he looks good, man. I mean, he's a big, athletic, strong arm quarterback. He has absolutely the tools, but the caveat comes with a guy from UNLV is can he handle it in the SEC? But Roos, I got to say, man, the thing that talks to me louder than anything else about this commitment is he turned down an opportunity to potentially be Miami was in it, right? So potentially be
Miami's
Miami's
been in it
starting
for
quarterback.
everybody.
Yeah, to potentially be Miami starting quarterback early to bring it down to USC so he could compete for maybe the starting job at USC or absolutely positively compete only for the backup job at Georgia this year. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about that. You just don't ever see it. It doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I say that as somebody who has watched him all day long, and I think he's a really good player.
No, I can't wrap my head around it either. I don't know what this says about. I don't know that it says anything about anybody other than just the kid, right? I mean, I don't know that it says anything about USC or Miami or any of that stuff. It might, I guess. There's, like I said, Miami's in a weird situation because it feels like they have been involved with every single person who's been in the portal at quarterback and just haven't been able to get any of them. Meanwhile, USC, like you said, you got the potential to compete for the starting job there, and just doesn't feel. I mean, I don't know why you don't go take that shot. Look, who cares, right? I mean, the kid's a good player. He's a really, really good player. Georgia lands him and should be thrilled to do so. I mean, Dylan Raiola, right? Great player in high school. This kid's proven. I mean, he's the Mountain West Freshman of the Year. He's done it at a high level already and kind of proven his mettle. If you got to swap those two out, I'm probably taking the Mountain West Freshman of the Year at quarterback, no less, if it's me personally.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea that what they're doing is, and I wrote a column about it, 850 something snaps under his belt. Gunnar Stockton has 55. So I mean, you've got a balance here, right? You've got one guy that's played a lot of snaps. You got one guy that's got a lot of reps in this system and practice. It's no given that he's going to win that backup job, and it's no given that Stockton is going to be able to overcome Maiava's experience. Maiava got a few snaps this year against Michigan when UNLV played them. He played against Vanderbilt. He got off to a really good start. He threw for 300 yards a couple times, threw for 250 or more yards like 6 or 7 times. So he had a good year. But I mean, listen, I think it's a no-brainer if you can add a guy like this. I'm just more surprised that they were able to add a guy like this.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting aspects of this too, to me at least, is the fact that and I'd almost forgotten about this until I started diving back in on UNLV, but he's been coached by a guy who has a lot of experience in the SEC and Barry Odom. I mean, obviously Barry Odom's a defensive guy, but I mean, that's been his head coach. So he's going to be used to some of what that is, right?
Need to confess real quick. I had no idea. I didn't know. I didn't have
Barry. You probably didn't know where Barry Odom was.
No, I mean Barry Odom could have been in NASA. He could have been in Biden's cabinet, and I wouldn't have known.
Sure. No, he's Barry Odom left. I believe he was the defensive coordinator at Arkansas, I think, prior to his time at UNLV, and had been the head coach at Missouri prior to Drinkwitz, and so I mean there was a lot of steps to this whole thing. I think that's an interesting aspect. I don't know how much that actually means, but I mean I'm sure Barry Odom's a hard ass coach, and I'm sure he coaches up guys tough, and I think that's an interesting caveat to me to all of this. But it says so much about the kid, really, in my opinion. We talked about that on the board a lot today. The fact that he would be willing to come in and basically sit behind a guy who, is going to be considered probably one of the front runners for the Heisman next year at the same position, is really telling. And I think that's not only telling of who this kid is, but it's telling of where Georgia is as a program as well. That they would be able to attract a kid like this, and that he would have that mentality. I think that's something to be said for the program as a whole, something to be said for Mike Bobo and his approach to this. And I don't know, man. I mean, it's a killer pickup. I don't. There's no other way to really sell it. Feels like it came together so quick too.
Yeah, and for you cotton skulls out there, I love you. I love you deeply. But for you cotton skulls out there, this does not mean Georgia's not going to pick up a defensive lineman or two. Okay,
I love that somebody asked that on the board.
They're still out there hunting
defensive lineman.
Love you, cotton skulls. You guys, we're kindred spirits. Mine's not very firm either.
I think that's what we need to start calling our loyal viewers of
the cotton
Mark
skulls.
After Dark, the cotton skulls, man. Yeah, I like
cotton skulls, cotton tops. That's what we need. Yeah, for sure. All right, we got a couple questions here. Somebody asked, and I've lost the dang question already. Somebody asked me what our favorite drink was. Mine is a ranch water, tequila soda, and Topo Chico. That is my favorite drink. I don't know what yours is, Bruce. Probably a good double imperial IPA.
I'm not a big double guy.
Big 17.5% beer wine.
Yeah, no. I like a good 7% West Coast piney as hell IPA. I want it to taste like tar, man. I love that stuff. Yeah, the more hops, the better. I'm looking for the most bitter thing I can get my lips on. So, but yeah, I'm a big beer guy. That's definitely my vice. If I'm gonna drink liquor, I'm typically a vodka and Sprite guy. Tito specifically.
You like a bourbon every now and then too.
I do, yeah. I mean, look, I'm not discriminatory. I like a good shot once in a while. I mean, I'll do it. I'll do a Jaeger bomb if you set one in front of me. I would do it. I have a propensity for the O bomb. Of course, bombs. I like a good rum. Even tequila once in a while I'll mess around with, but so I'm not discriminatory. But I do, if most of the time if I'm drinking a cold beer. Yeah,
we go through the tequila pretty hard around here. Alabama defensive coordinator retired. That would be what's his face? Kevin Steele. Do you think they will go after Glenn Schumann? I don't know if they'll go after Glenn Schumann or not. I really don't think they'll get him. If they do, I think T-Rob's probably going to get promoted at some point to their defensive coordinator job and maybe be the defensive play caller, make some more money. I think he's up next. Christopher Black says he had some Pappy Van Winkle this weekend. I had Pappy when I was in New Orleans one time. I had Pappy 15, if there is one, or 20 or something. It was the cheapest Pappy they had, and it was $30 a pour. It was okay. I'm sure the good stuff's a lot better. All right. Bruce, I'm not at the national championship game. I really don't. I mean, that's not really about Georgia playing or Georgia not. I'm just not there, and I'm sad because you've been there, and there's a lot of energy in that place. And the at Lucas Oil, it was tremendous. I thought last year was even better, and I know I wasn't one of those people that was getting rain blown onto me from inside of there. But I tell you what, I did do after that game. I went on a journey through the bowels of
I remember this. Yeah, that's right. You were in a cabana. Monster. You were in a cabana.
I was in a cabana. I was. I took a shot with one of Floyd Mayweather's people.
That's right.
He handed me one, and I was like, yeah. I just threw it back, just kept moving, So it was Floyd had already jumped out of there. I'm not a big fan of his anyway. It was, man, that was wild. The funny thing was I went through a cabana, and then it was like they joined, right? And
sure.
So I was going from one to the other, to the other, to the other to see if I could find a way down to the field. And it took a while. I mean, it really did take a while. But I'm telling you guys out there, if you've never been to a national championship game, try to get to one.
How did you feel they compared? Obviously, I didn't go last year. But I mean, I was in Indianapolis. How did you feel that those two games compared?
It's so tough, man, because one of them was kind of you talking about the venues?
Well, just in general. I mean, the whole experience.
Well, obviously the one in LA was so much more enjoyable because, you're
outside.
Huh?
You could go outside because
it was still raining and very cold for LA. It was very atypical of LA, but it was more enjoyable because it was a blowout game and it was looser and you could get a lot of your work done before it was over. The game kicked at like 4:45 local. And so, you think 3.5 hour, game, a couple of hours after the game, and we have a media party after every bowl game, every national championship game. And there is a massive, massive media party. You remember the one at Lucas Oil?
Oh, it's incredible.
Or you remember the one in Indiana? Well, there was one just that big or bigger in Los Angeles, and we're in there at like 10:30 as opposed to 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, oh man, let's go. We had a great time, dude. It was phenomenal. That one to me was a lot more fun. It was just like you said. I mean, you could at least go outside under a shelter in Los Angeles. You couldn't even. I mean, it was 5 degrees outside, 10 degrees outside in Indiana.
You had to stand those hamster tubes that they had running between all the buildings in Indianapolis. I mean, let me ask you this, because I don't know, man. I don't know how I felt about this. Did you think you'd ever get to do it though? Did you ever think you'd get to cover a national championship? Like when you got into this, like going back to the beginning?
I mean, no, not really. It happened pretty quick for me after getting on the beat, because I think my first year actually covering the UGA beat was 2015, like day to day. And that was Rick's last year. So I had that year, and then the next year, my third year, I covered a national championship game. Now it was at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it was somewhere that I'd already been just a few weeks before that. So it wasn't like a totally new venue. But I mean, did I think I would ever, honestly, my first kind of oh my God moment was probably Notre Dame in 2017. And then it was the Rose Bowl. And then that national championship game was something else, because I remember standing outside in the rain for 90 minutes while they took the dogs inside of while they took like German Shepherd and Belgian Malinois inside to sniff everything, because Donald Trump was going to be there.
Funny story. I was actually I stood about 15 feet from Donald Trump. I was trapped in the on-field bathroom and tried to exit, and I opened the door, and there was like a hand waiting on me, and it was the damn Secret Service, and they were like, "Hey, you got to stay in there." And I was like, "Why?" And I looked over, I was like, "Oh shit, that guy's right there." All right, cool.
You should have grabbed a Secret Service agent and got you a selfie with him.
Yeah, I don't know if they're allowed to do that. They might be like those fuzzy hat guys at Buckingham Palace, man.
Yeah,
you can't really mess with them like that.
Like the agents in the Matrix.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was but that national championship games, even being in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is not my favorite venue because I just get to go there a lot, was still electric. I mean, it was absolutely electric. But then, just being around Lucas Oil Stadium when all of that went down, get a chance to go down onto the field. I mean, you remember me, you and Palmer, kind of just meandering around the building, because it was like, that game started so late. It was East Coast. It was 1:00. Nobody was reading anything. So we're down there just, picking up anything we can find and pulling shit off the walls. And Palmer stole this stuff. Y'all, folks, Palmer stole this banner. He stole this banner. There was it probably weighed 60 pounds.
It's like 30 feet long.
It is 25 feet long. And he was walking with it all like discombobulated through those hamster tunnels that you're talking about there at Lucas Oil. And unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
I've got it in the room over there.
He's got it in
the room next door.
Do you have his
entire apartment with it?
No, it is not hanging up. It would cover about the entire apartment, like you said.
Now, look, I wasn't ashamed, man. I started grabbing shit. I did.
The guys told us, they're like, "Hey, man, the more you steal, the less we have to take down."
Yeah, I was happy to help them.
We found a guy who gave us some game worn gloves. Which is pretty cool. So yeah, all of that was going on. It was a pretty incredible experience, but I'm just sad that I'm not there because
Houston, I don't know though, man. Houston, like I've never been to Houston, so
that's kind of why I wanted to go.
I shouldn't talk poorly of it, but it's also somewhere I've never sought out to go. I've never had much interest. I should take that back. I've been to Houston once that I can recall, and it was my dad and I went. I flew into Houston. We had dinner, and then we went to see U2 at the NRG stadium where they're playing the game. And then we flew out the next morning. So I was in Houston for like 24, 30 hours, something like that. So it was super quick, but not a city I've ever just, I don't know, that I've wanted. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody in the comments can correct me and tell me Houston's one of the great cities in America. I've always figured it was like kind of humid and nasty because it was like not that far off of the water. And I mean, it's a big sprawling ass city too. I know that. So,
well, I've probably got the type of dog wrong, but the Huskies need to watch out because they are very close to getting their ass beat like they're in the Iditarod.
No, that is that well played, my friend.
Because I don't really know. I didn't know if it was a Husky or a Akita or or what kind of dog that was, but it's getting close, man. It's getting close. And listen, I thought one of the differences in this game, now that we kind of move into a little bit of a watch along part of the show, I thought one of the big differences in this game would be kind of Michael Penix's accuracy down the field, because I mean, it's just, man, I swear to God, every time I've ever watched the guy, whether it was at Indiana or Washington, he's got dudes with a step or a half step, and he's just laying it in there, and they're catching them. But he hasn't had those opportunities.
I'm kind of hoping he's a Falcon.
Yeah.
I would not be upset about that. I'll be honest with you. Penix, he's just got the juice, man. Like he's a guy, he's got a lot of confidence in himself. He carries himself really well. Like you said, I think he throws an incredible ball. I'd love to see him in Atlanta. They're going to have to get this whole coaching situation figured out, but doesn't matter who that is. They're going to need a quarterback. And so Jaden Daniels, they've got some good options this year. I'm excited.
Let me tell you, the Falcons thing to do would be if J.J. McCarthy got into the NFL draft.
Jesus Christ.
The Falcons would make their pick wherever it's at, and then they'd trade up late first round and grab J.J. McCarthy.
Probably what we'll do is we'll help you guys out a little bit and take off all that Russell Wilson money, trade with you, take on that damn albatross, and then give you our first round pick.
I did Russell Wilson wrong, man.
I agree.
Russell wasn't bad this year. Listen, I tell you what, I don't really get into the whole coaching thing. I do love the Broncos, right? And I don't get into the hating on the coaches thing. But I tell you what, Sean Payton's a full-blown asshole.
I agree. I think so too.
I mean, I've never, like, I guess I just didn't follow him enough whenever he was in New Orleans. But, and listen, he may win, and I'm going to root for the logo, but Sean Payton sucks.
I think a lot of what happened for him in New Orleans was, I think he was then who he is now, but I think that he had Drew Brees to offset that.
Yeah.
Drew Brees was like man of the year, like, and not to say Russell Wilson's that guy too. I mean, like he's, he's a
Russell's a little plastic.
He is. You're right. I can agree with that. But I don't know, man. I think he may have always been that guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, you got to deal with that. At least you don't have to deal with Arthur Smith like we did.
Nicolas Cage, man.
Oof. Boy, how did that guy didn't?
Hey, what's your take on the whole Jameis Winston punching it in on the
I think it's hilarious. I mean, I think it's a shitty thing to do. I don't think you shouldn't do that out of victory formation, guys.
I agree.
That's how guys get hurt.
Yeah.
So that's a stupid thing to do. Do I think it's funny? Yes, I do. I think and it's a very Jameis Winston thing to do.
You know what's funny is all of this happening within the NFC South.
Sure.
Because several years ago it was Greg Schiano's Tampa Bay Bucks that were playing defense during the victory formation, and now you got the Saints trying to punch it in on the goal line for victory formation. Yeah. I thought it was pretty lowbrow. I'll be honest with you though. I've enjoyed listening to Jameis try to
Jameis, dude. Jameis is funny. I'm like, I don't know what he's gonna do when he gets done playing. And honestly, this could be it for him, right? I mean, like, I could see him getting cut over this. And does somebody else want to take the circus on? I don't know. I mean, he's had these like little blips throughout his career, even dating back to Florida State and some of the stuff that went on there, right? But I mean, I hope there's a future for Jameis Winston in broadcasting, because he's hilarious to me. He's so funny.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Well, I agree. You can't, drop the right in the, you can't do that on TV, but he's
my favorite thing from him is that post game he did. It was right after COVID, where they were social distancing and interviewing at the same time. and he's like, he's like, he goes, you just got to stay patient. You just got to stay patient, and let the game come to you. It's like my trainer was saying the other day. What was he saying? He just said, "Stay patient." He just said, "Stay patient." I mean, it's one of the best.
When he's eating the W,
Yeah.
when he's eating the W,
Yeah.
dude, like that. The guy is a lunatic, man. I find him to be highly entertaining.
I saw that one time without sound, and I thought he was like doing Mankind. I thought he was like
the mandible claw.
I thought it was like doing like he used to do, like, I mean, it was so strange. It was so weird. This game's getting close to halftime, a few more minutes in the half, but
people are probably starting to wonder, are we going to have a guest again at some point? The answer is yes.
Yeah, for sure. For sure we're going to have a guest. I thought about trying to get Rusty on tonight, but everything got so hectic in the hour or two leading up to us getting going that, with the Maiava edition, that I didn't get a chance to ask him. But we're going to have some folks on. We need to get Bernard on again, Justin Williams' dad. I want to talk to him again. Been kind of keeping up with him lately, and see if he can give us an update on how the boys are doing since they got to Athens. Andy Staples, I believe, is the only two-time guest we've ever had, except for Andy Staples and Mad Godwin.
Yes.
So we need to start circling back on some of these guys. We talked about Ben Baby last week. We've talked about getting Chuck Dowdle on here. Chuck Dowdle's going to undoubtedly have some great stories for us.
You're gonna give me a little starstruck, man. Chuck Dowdle, my dude, man.
Hey, listen, man. Hey, funny thing about Chuck Dowdle, and we'll probably talk about this if we ever get him on, but one of the finest, most crowning achievements in my life is I leave UGA one day, and my wife's like, "Hey," so when I lived in kind of Winder, and I used to have to drive through Statham to get to kind of the backside of Winder, and I was headed home, and there used to be this, we've talked about it before, Chin's Family Restaurant. It's a Chinese restaurant in Statham, a family-owned joint. It's fantastic. So I stopped there, and I walk in the door, and there's Chuck sitting in the chair waiting on us, because Chuck lives over at Georgia Club, and it's just right across 316 from there. And Chuck's sitting there looking at his phone, and I walk in and I say, "Chuck," and he goes, "Ho, ho, ho, Jake Rowe, my man, how you doing?" And oh my God, dude, I could have died right there. I was just like, "Oh, just Chuck, man. Chuck likes me. Chuck's my dude." And he, we got to talking, and he was like, "Hey, come on over to Georgia Club. You can play anytime." Connor Riley, we say no to that. No, I'm just joking. We'll have him on there. Hey, I would like, maybe we could get Coach Pruitt on here. We could get Coach Pruitt on here, maybe.
Jeremy Pruitt?
Yeah.
Jesus
I think we could get JP on here.
I want that so badly. Can we please do that, man? I would love nothing more than to get Jeremy Pruitt on this show. I would be interested in making Jeremy Pruitt a permanent co-host of this show, to be honest with you.
Hey, boys, what we doing on here tonight? You want me to tell you about the time I recruited Marcel, or you'll tell me about the time I recruited who's that defensive end that played at Florida State for him, the Walker kid? What is that guy's name? He plays in the NFL. But he followed Pruitt to Florida State.
Marcus?
I think it's
Walker.
Huh?
Is it DeMarcus Walker?
It may be DeMarcus Walker. Yeah. I'd be like, "Hey, man, let me tell you about the time I recruited DeMarcus Walker."
Yeah, he was committed to Alabama and then changed to flip to Florida State.
That's right. Yeah, something like that. That'd be great to get some stories on that. Coach Donnan, man, I'd love to get Coach Donnan on here. We got Roddy on, and maybe Coach Donnan could come on too. That'd be a lot of dude. Coach Donnan used to tell the greatest stories on 960 The Ref in the morning. One of my favorites was they were recruiting a kid from down in Florida and down around Miami, and Coach Donnan went up and had his meeting with the family that night, and he said, "Coach, I'm going to Oklahoma for sure. I'm definitely going to Oklahoma." And apparently, Coach Donnan slept in his car outside the kid's house that night. I think something just to kind of make sure he was going to sign with them the next day. And Coach Donnan said he woke up the next morning to Howard Schnellenberger tapping on his window, be like, "Hey, man, we just signed with Miami. We're about to go celebrate at McDonald's."
Yeah.
I mean, just Oh, wild, wild west, man. I mean, it's people think it's wild now. It used to be wild in its own way then too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, you ready to jack off?
Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah. All right, what you got?
Well, I went first last time, so why don't you hit me this time?
All right. Sorry, I'm eating ice.
That's all good.
I'm gonna go football centric on this one.
All right.
Themed.
Okay.
Most memorable non-Georgia national championship game you can ever remember. The one you'll never forget.
For me, that's kind of an easy one. And
yeah.
It's Miami, Ohio State.
Okay.
That was such a great game. My dad is a huge Ohio State fan. So I was tuned in for him. That Miami team was ridiculous as well. I mean, just so loaded with talent. And obviously, the unfortunate thing, what I always remember about that game is Willis McGahee's leg turning inside itself, dude. For sure. And that for me was like the first time I'd ever seen an injury like that. You know, I just couldn't believe it. I'd watched football, but that was kind of like when I started seriously watching football. So that was like, you know, 9th, 10th grade, roughly. And that was a game I don't think I'll ever forget. There was just so much talent in it. It was a great ending. And also my dad, great story. After Ohio State pulls it out, he starts, my uncle lives in Detroit. And so my dad has the area code and first 3 numbers for Detroit. And so he's drunk and he starts calling people in the Detroit area, just using those numbers and adding 4 random numbers at the end. And he just starts calling people and, you know, chanting for the Buckeyes and stuff. He said everybody was really cool about it. It was really positive. And, you know, they were like, yeah, good for you guys. Way to go. Way to pull it off. One of my favorite stories from my dad is messing with the Michigan fans after that game.
That is a good one, man. I'm going to say my most memorable, and honestly, I think it was 99, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was 99. Was the Michael Vick versus Florida State national chair. Man, you want to talk about just absolutely electric. Just all that running around. Trying to make something happen. Florida State sacked him like 8 or 9 times, but he tried to keep him in it. I mean, Michael Vick got Virginia Tech to a national championship game and then found a way for a couple of quarters to basically scare, you know, Florida State a little bit. And those Florida State teams, man. Roos, do you remember those? Do you remember those like 90s Florida State teams and how dominant they were?
A little bit, man. That was a little bit before my time.
Oh, my God. It was unbelievable. Just freak shows like Peter Warwick and Andre Wadsworth and Tamrick Vanover and
what I do remember, Peter Warwick. What I do remember from and I imagine, you know, that was, like I said, it was a little bit before my time, but I was locked in with the Falcons when Mike Vick came in, dude. And I can only imagine in college what that was like, seeing that guy. I mean, he was able to do that stuff to professional athletes, let alone to other guys in college, man. I'm sure it was really something to see.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, his redshirt freshman year was tremendous. His redshirt sophomore year, he kind of stayed banged up the whole year, so it didn't really pan out for him. But I mean, he's unbelievable. I mean, anybody that wants to compare anybody to Michael Vick, I'm just like, I'm sorry, man. Just nobody's quite like that. Nobody was quite like he was as a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, one of a kind. All right, so I'm going to ask you this one. We've talked a little bit about guests here. Who would be your dream guest for Bark After Dark? Who would you really love to get on here and just get to shoot the shit with? I mean, obviously, we're not grilling anybody on this show, so I'm curious if Jake Rowe could pick somebody out, who would you like to have?
I shot my shot with Shannon Sharp on Twitter one time.
That would be awesome.
I'm a big Shannon Sharp guy because
I'm going to guess Shannon Sharp doesn't have a lot of time for us, given how well the Cat Williams interview is doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, God, I'd love to know. I'd love to have a percentage on how much truth Cat told in that.
I'd love to have Cat Williams on this show. That would be awesome.
Yeah, Cat Williams on the show would be great. It probably wouldn't be Shannon Sharp. Honestly, as much stand-up comedy as me and Palmer watch on the road, Shane Gillis would be it'd be pretty awesome to have Shane Gillis on here.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it'd be pretty great to get him on here and just goof off. Somebody like Tom Segura, that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, it would probably have to be. Listen, I went and saw that Chappelle, thing, and the only problem that would get me with Dave Chappelle is I would worry if we got him on here and he got bored with us that he'd just start clowning us. And
I would love that.
I don't know if I would like that or not. I might cry.
What about 90s country? What if you had to get somebody from 90s? Who would you like to interview? It's a different thing to say who's your favorite. Who would you like to talk to?
90s country, huh?
Yeah. I'll even accept late 80s country.
90s country. Lead singer for Sawyer Brown. Be pretty cool to get on here.
Yeah. I bet that guy suffers from the same thing as Hootie,
Yeah.
Like they're probably like Sawyer.
Right. Yeah. Maybe get all the Confederate Railroad on here.
Oh.
Talk about the first time they ever say performed I Like My Women a Little on the Trashy Side.
Yeah.
Obviously, George Strait's iconic. I saw an interview earlier today with Taylor Swift, and she said that because she had opened for George Strait in 2006 or 2007 or something, and then in 2009 she was headlining her own tour, and George Strait came to her before the show and was like, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you, he just appeared, maybe out of a lightning bolt or something."
That's how he does. Yeah.
No, she said he unannounced, didn't tell her he was coming. He came and he was there as she left her, dressing room or something. He ran up with her and he was just put his arm around her. He's like, "Hey, I just want to tell you good luck, and I'm really proud of you for getting a chance to headline your own tour. You've come a long way, and I'm proud of you." And she's told similar things about Kenny Chesney, about how she was supposed to go on tour with him. But there was a lot of alcohol going on, a lot of alcohol sponsors, and she was only 17 at the time. So they had to take her off of the tour. And later that year, Kenny Chesney just brought her more money than she had ever seen in her life, and was like, "Hey, I know you got knocked off the tour and you were expecting that money and you needed it. So here you go." She's had a lot of people be really good to her in that industry, but that's neither here nor there. George Strait would be hard to pass up. Garth Brooks, I would have to drop a Where the Bodies G. I'm sure.
One of my favorite theories out there.
Yeah. So, a lot of guys, man. The 90s country thing makes it really difficult because I hadn't even thought about that realm. It would be somebody 90s country or probably comedy.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I could go for either one, man. We're gonna have to branch out into that at some point.
Yeah, we definitely will. I don't know if anybody wants to listen to it or not.
If anybody's got any connections to some 90s country artists, please pass their contact info on.
Anybody, Leroy Parnell and Hal Ketchum and up.
Hal Ketchum passed away, didn't he?
Maybe.
Yeah, I believe so.
Maybe we can do a
Parnell still out there. Joe Diffie we lost too. That was a shame.
I'm not opposed to doing a Hal Ketchum Ouija board.
Seance to bring Hal Ketchum back.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. You could probably talk me into it, but all right. Looks like Washington. Let's give one last update here for the people who are tuning into us tonight. It looks like Washington has gotten into the end zone with 42 seconds left in the half. Probably breaking some FCC violations or some FCC rules here.
Deep drive to left from Castellanos.
Holding on the defense. So here we go. It's a one-score game with 42 seconds left in the half. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We've a couple hundred people, 150 people watching us tonight. I'm sorry for wasting your time. Another episode of Bark in the Dark is in the books. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, me and Rusty Mansell, the guy you all really want to hear from. And then you can hear from him again on Thursday when we do it again. So for this episode of Bark After Dark, I'm Jake. He's Jake. Y'all go watch that national championship game or get some sleep. Rove.